The power's out. Oh my God, what do we do now? I jest. I knew what to do. I could read a book. I could chat to my husband. Could take the dog for a walk. Go sit in the sun. Mask in the fact that I am not connected to anything electronic or just spend time with my thoughts. But it's a reminder as I sit and I wondered, what if it were minus 23? How would we stay warm? Our backup in Montana is actually a wood-burning fireplace. But if it were a sealed natural gas fireplace, there's no way of turning it on because the igniter wouldn't even light. It was a stark reminder of the importance of having a reliable energy source. And no, I'm not talking about solar or wind power. Even if we had the infrastructure installed on our little cabin, we would need a way to store the power for essentials, which would be keeping our food cold. You know, the power outage in Montana lasted 3.5 hours and it affected over 4,000 homes in the valley, leaving people stranded at gas stations. Businesses had to close. I mean, the lights are off and more. I mean, fortunately, communication still worked. I think you know where I'm going with this, right? We need cheap, reliable energy, no matter what. And shutting down fossil fuel production by 2050, if not sooner, for more so-called renewable energy, along with $1 trillion plus electrical grid is not the answer. Oh, here we go. Cue the extremists. For the larger part of 10 years, the public has been subjected to the daily rantings of environmental extremists who believe the world is ending if we don't cut off oil and gas production immediately. This is a time when I reflect on the past growing up at the tail end of the 20th century. Even then, we were held hostage under the yearly climate catastrophe, which was sure to end human civilization. I mean, I've already lived through global warming, the next ice age, acid rain, sea levels rising, and so much more. In fact, oil reserves were supposed to run out over 20 years ago. Now, a little known fact is that when my father started Shane Homes, he wanted a unique selling proposition for our homes. And that was going to be solar panels on the roof. You see, he's believed in this technology since his early career of mobile homes. And alas, he could never justify the expense because the return to the consumer could never be recognized over the life of the panels. But, you know what, undaunted, he kept up his research in hopes that the technology would improve. Well, to date, he still can't rationalize the costs, much less recommend it to others. I mean, honestly, if he could, they would be installed in my parents' house immediately. Regardless, the panels still only last 15 to 20 years. They cannot be recycled and require copolymers, which is actually a petrochemical derived from oil and natural gas to be produced. Is that renewable in advocate terms? I mean, that would be hypocritical, wouldn't it? Oh, and what about wind power? You know what? Most turbines only last 15 years, and some of the same rationale applies. They're costly to build. They require oil and gas products in their production and maintenance. Oh, there is no way to recycle these things either. All they can think of is, let's bury them in the ground. No one even knows what the outcome of that is over its life, other than, hey, it's out of sight, out of mind. You know, the other challenge is we lack an abundance of wind in Canada to run these for maximum gain. And how many dead animal bodies around the turbines are needed? Like, while these deaths are not knowingly reported, how many does the public have to learn about before we rationalize that this is also not a lone solution? Not to mention the whole fields of turbines observed in other countries that are still standing. Okay, what about nuclear power? We always seem adverse to it in Canada with only 6 known power stations. Is it because of the Chernobyl disaster in the Ukraine in 1986, which quite honestly was avoidable? But currently there are about 440 nuclear power reactors operating in 32 countries, and about 60 power reactors are currently being constructed in 15 countries, most notably China, India, and Russia. Now, typically a nuclear power plant takes 5 to 7 years to construct, while natural gas-fired plants can be built in about 2 years. And here we are a resource-rich country in Canada, and we could expand our uranium mining to aid our energy independence. Yet, mining and the construction of nuclear power plants are still largely protested here. So what are we to do? Wait for rolling blackouts to begin? What if those hours become days? Worse yet, on a regular basis, why are we paying in excess for the privilege of powering our homes, our businesses, and our lives? Can't we just come up with a proper energy strategy in Canada that incorporates clean oil and gas extraction, carbon capture technology, and nuclear power in a reasonable time frame without the constant fear-mongering and another heavy-handed deadline from the Liberal government? Could the problem be the current federal energy minister cut his teeth in activism against the use of nuclear for anything? The future can be great, but by whose definition is what the real question is.
Hey, if you like content like this, why don't you subscribe?